It's 9 o'clock, and I'd like to welcome members and guests to the Cities and County Subcommittee of Local Government. This time I'd ask clerk call the roll, please.
Vice Chairman Calfee.
Present.
Representative Chisholm.
Present.
Chairman Crawford.
Present.
Leader Gant.
Here.
Chairman Helton.
Here.
Representative Miller. Vice Chairman Wright.
Here.
Chairman Moon.
Present.
Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. We do have a quorum. Do any of the members have any personal orders? Like to recognize anyone? Seeing none, we'll start with our first bill, House Bill 772 by Leader Lamberth, presented by Representative Russell. Without objection, this bill will be rolled 1 week. Hearing no objection, House Bill 772 is rolled 1 week. Next bill is House Bill 1529 by Chairman Powers. Without objection, this bill will be rolled 1 week. Hearing no objection, House Bill 1529 is rolled 1 week. Next bill is House Bill 1365 by Chairman Carter. Representative Smith will be presenting House Bill 1365. I do not see Chairman Smith, Representative Smith in the chamber. We'll roll this to the heel. Next bill is House Bill 35 by Representative Ogles. Representative Ogles is not in the chambers. Without objection, we'll roll this bill to the heel. The next bill is House Bill 553 by Chairman Whitson. Chairman Whitson is currently presenting a bill in civil justice. At this time, let's take a 5-minute recess. Is there objection? Hearing no objection, we'll recess for 5 minutes. Let's, Sergeant at Arms, if you'll see if you can find Representative Smith and Representative Ogles. We've rolled both of those to the heel. Okay, we'll go back into session. The next bill is House Bill 553 by Chairman Whitson. I don't see him in the chamber. Without objection, we'll roll Chairman Whitson to House Bill 553 to the Hill. Next bill is House Bill 335 by Chairman Hicks. Without objection, this bill is off notice. Hearing no objection, House Bill 335 is off notice. Next bill is House Bill 788 by Representative Cooper. Without objection, House Bill 788 is rolled for 2 weeks. Hearing no objection, House Bill 788 is rolled for 2 weeks. Next bill is House Bill 155 by Chairman Haston. Without objection, House Bill 155 is rolled 1 week. Hearing no objection, House Bill 155 is rolled 1 week. Next bill is House Bill 1222 by Representative Hakeem. Without objection, House Bill 1222 is rolled 1 week. Representative Miller, we received an email last night to the full committee chair and subcommittee chair requesting a roll, and we granted the roll. So we'll roll for 1 week without objection. Do you object, Representative Miller?
No, Mr. Chair, I just see the representative standing there as if he was about to present, so.
If you object, I'll entertain the objection. We have objection to the roll.
Yes,
Do we have a motion on House Bill 1222?
a motion?
We have a motion. Do we have a second? We have a second. Representative King, you're recognized on House Bill 1222, sir.
I just got a phone call in the last 2 or 3 minutes that said the bill is coming up for me to be here.
We have a motion, a second. You're recognized on House Bill 1222 on the bill, sir. So go ahead and explain your bill.
All right, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. What this bill does is afford municipalities, counties to use contract licensed healthcare providers such as psychiatric or psychological persons. And these persons are being contracted. They're not agents of the counties. And as a result of that, we're asking that what the bill does is ask that this does not create an action for an individual to seek action against the county if they're not, in this instance, if they're not hired for an employment. I can give more detail if you like, sir.
Members heard the explanation. Are there questions for the sponsor? Leader Gant, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I guess I'm having trouble understanding what the bill actually does.
Yes, sir.
If you could try one more time.
Okay.
I'm slow, so forgive me.
No, sir. No, sir.
It's just, if you don't mind.
Representative Hakeem, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I will mention that I think I put in a phone call to most all of you prior to this today. And but we have an instance where a jailer wanted to be employed by the county and was not hired because of psychological concerns. That individual went to the juvenile court, and evidently their process is different from that of the county. And as a result, that individual was hired by juvenile and wanted to bring an action against the county for not hiring him in the first place. And what we're saying is, I don't know if the juvenile used psychological and so forth, but the county did, and found him to be not fit to be a jailer. And as a result, this person brought an action against the county for not hiring.
Leader Gant.
So what specifically is this bill doing with that analogy that you just gave?
That the psychiatrist is not an agent of the county. It was a contract employee. And so that does not put the county in a position of an action coming against the county for the decisions that were made, because he's a contract individual.
Leader Gant.
I'm good, thank you.
Representative Calfee, you're recognized on the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Now, let me make sure I understand this. Somebody had applied for a job with Chattanooga or Hamilton County?
Hamilton County.
Hamilton County, and when they had a review by a professional psychological person, they were deemed unfit for the job?
Correct, sir.
Representative Keem.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Let's watch the running dialogue.
Okay.
And so now they're suing the county because they didn't get the job, and this person was a contract employee that decided they weren't capable of doing the job. So this protects the county from future instances like this.
Representative Keem.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That is correct, sir.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you.
Chairman Crawford, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Now I'm a little confused. I've read this bill several times. So you're saying what your bill does is it makes sure that this is a private individual that does the mental evaluations from this point forward?
Representative Keem.
Yes, sir, that was the intent. That individual was a contract employee. Well, I say employee, was under contract, not an agent of the county who did the evaluation.
Chairman Crawford.
Well, my concern would be for those counties that already have somebody in place that does the mental evaluations. Either they've hired someone as to do that job, or at least has a contract with those. So what happens to those people?
Representative Keem.
Now, are these considered employees of the counties you're speaking of?
Chairman Crawford.
Some of them could be, but let's say they're not, but they're under contract.
Representative Keem.
My understanding is what the effort is for the government, in this instance, Hamilton County, not to be, I guess you could, when I say not held liable, in action taken against county government.
Chairman Crawford.
Is there current litigation against Hamilton County, and that's why you're bringing the bill?
Representative Keem.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There is one individual who has an action against the county. Yes, sir.
Chairman Crawford.
So we're creating law to get out of a lawsuit.
Representative Keem.
Just one second. Okay, it won't affect the current litigation.
Chairman Crawford.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Representative Keem, we're considering this bill for statewide application.
Yes,
Is that correct?
That is correct, sir.
And we're doing that, one more time, what's the intent of the bill, sir? If you could state that clearly.
Okay. The intent is for the actions not to be taken against a county because of the actions of a contract person like a psychologist, because they are not agents of the government.
Representative King, they are agents by contract. They're not employees
Okay.
of the government. So continue. Apologize for interrupting you, sir.
No. I appreciate what you're saying, sir, and I stand corrected.
Any other discussion? Representative Calfee?
Briefly, Mr. Chairman, I agree with what you just said. Pat Marsh has over 600 trucks on the road, and his contract drivers, Pat is still ultimately reliable if they have an accident and kill somebody. So I'm not a lawyer, but my son is, and I've stayed in Holiday Inn Express. But I really don't believe this adequately addresses that, because whether a direct employee or a contract employee, I don't think the county's gonna get out of any liability by this, but, just my opinion. Thank you, sir.
Representative Hakeem. Representative Hakeem, you're recognized, sir.
If it's acceptable, Mr. Chairman, there's been a lot of confusion this morning. If I may, we've contacted various members of the committee about talking with them over the next week. But like I said, I got a call just minutes before I came in here that says I have a bill and I need to be here. And what I'm getting at is,
Representative Hakeem, who made the phone call? My office, I chair the committee.
it was a lady, and I didn't ask. When she told me that, I just came straight down.
Well, my legislative assistant is not a lady, he's a gentleman.
Okay.
Leader Gant, you're recognized on the bill, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Out of courtesy to my colleague here, I think probably the best thing to do is let's roll this until we get everything in the right posture, and I think a lot of us would feel better about really vetting this, what we're actually doing, and so forth. If you don't mind, that's just my suggestion.
Leader Gant's made a motion to roll. Is there a second? There's a second. Discussion on the motion to roll. Hearing none. All in favor of rolling this 1 week, say aye. Opposed, say no. House Bill 1222 is rolled 1 week. Thank you, Representative. Next bill is House Bill 655 by Representative Hicks of Washington. Is there a motion on House Bill 655? Is there a motion and a second? Representative Hicks, you are recognized on House Bill 655, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, committee. This bill makes government work better by removing an unnecessarily filing requirement for municipalities and utility districts. Under current law, municipalities and utility districts are required to file their travel and expense reimbursement policies with the Comptroller's Office. These filing requirements are already being checked for compliance through an annual audit report. This bill eliminates the unnecessary filing requirements with the Comptroller's Office that municipalities and utility districts do for travel expenses. Municipalities and utility districts will still be required to have policies in place and must make them available for audit and review by the Comptroller or his designee.
Any questions for the sponsor? Mr. Sponsor, is this your first bill? Excuse me. Chairman Crawford, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We were on the same line of thought there. I was going to ask him if this was his first bill in our committee.
Representative Hicks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is my first bill in this committee. It sure is.
Chairman Crawford, you're recognized.
Are you comfortable that this bill is going to come out of sub?
Representative Hicks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You all look like a great crew, I'll tell you that.
Chairman Crawford, you're recognized.
Follow up, this comptroller, is that what you call it? Is that a boat? What is
Representative
the
Hicks.
comptroller?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, I think we might have ate dinner with the comptroller last night, so I know him pretty well. So he's from our neck of the woods.
And a good guy.
Chairman Crawford.
Mr. Chairman, the only other thing I would ask is, a lot of times on first bill presentations in our committee, we ask them to sing the General Assembly fight song. I don't know if you want to do that or not, but just wanted to remind you.
In the interest of time, we will entertain. Do you know the first verse? You don't have to sing. If you just quote the first verse, that would be in order.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do not.
Chairman Crawford.
He's from my area, so I'm done with him. He's a good guy.
Representative Calfee, you're recognized on the bill, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. What's your favorite flavor of ice cream?
On the bill, sir. It's
Out of order. Thank you, Mr.
Are there any other questions or discussion on House Bill 655? Is there objection to the question? Hearing no objection, we're voting on House Bill 655. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say no. The ayes prevail. Moves to the next available calendar of local government. Thank you, Representative Hicks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, committee.
The next bill is House Bill 549 by Representative Gillespie. Without objection, House Bill 549 is off notice. Hearing no objection, House Bill 549 is off notice. The next bill is House Bill 1365 by Chairman Carter. Representative Smith will present House Bill 1365. Is there a motion on the bill? Do I have a second? I have a motion and a second on House Bill 1365. Representative Smith, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee. This bill does have an amendment. It is Amendment Drafting Code 4625, and at the pleasure of the chairman, I'll be happy to get this in the correct posture.
Is there a motion on the amendment? Is there a second? There's a motion and a second on Amendment 4625. Representative Smith, you're recognized on Amendment 4625.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee. I think we all know, in the absence of Chairman Carter, he would wax and wane much more eloquently on this, but this is a technical cleanup to a bill that very passionately that Chairman Carter has worked on. The language that was submitted in this amendment will not make anything more than to align definitions, and if I might, at the pleasure of the chairman, expound a little more on the bill in full.
Without objection. Hearing no objection, you're recognized.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. In 2019, the original fix was to allow local governments to use a tool called subrogation or recovery of loss when involved with insurance claims. And absent the fix in 2019, the only remedy that a local government had was to sue its own employees, which is absolutely not what there is ever an intention to do should there be a claim. So Chairman Carter took the large task of taking language from the TennCare subrogation law and moved it into a fix for local governments, which I do believe those number about 13 that are self-insured in the state of Tennessee. What has become apparent, and the fix that is in this law, is to make sure that we identify through definition the difference between those self-insured under a local government entity as opposed to those insured under the TennCare under a indigent type program. And essentially, it just makes that distinction, Mr. Chairman, and I'll be happy to take questions, but this, again, is just a cleanup bill that will protect the 13 self-insured counties to have this ability to have rights of recovery and subrogation.
Thank you to the sponsor, and for full disclosure, the chairman's home county, Blount County, is one county that's affected by this bill. We do self-insure. Are there questions for the sponsor on the amendment? We have a question on amendment without objection. Hearing no objection, we're voting on Amendment 4625. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say no. The ayes prevail. Amendment 4625 moves forward. Back on the bill. Sponsor, is there any other discussion on the bill?
Mr. Chairman, I just simply renew my motion and ask that the committee respond favorably by support.
Is there objection to the question? Hearing no objection, we're voting on House Bill 1365. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say no. The ayes prevail. It moves to the next available calendar, local government. Thank
Chairman
you,
and committee, thank you on behalf of Chairman Carter.
This brings us to the next bill, House Bill 35 by Representative Ogles. Is there a motion on the bill? Is there a second? There's a motion and a second on House Bill 35. Representative Ogle, you are recognized on House Bill 35.
Thank you, Chairman, members of the committee. This piece of legislation deals with gatherings in our homes and places of worship. As you all know, during the last year, we've had to deal with some trying times.
Mr. Sponsor, is
Yes,
there
sir.
an amendment to the bill, sir?
Yes, sir. Drafted 004918.
Is there a motion on Amendment 4918? I have a motion. There is a second. There's a motion and a second on Amendment 4918. You're recognized on the amendment, sir.
Thank you, Chairman, members of the committee. This amendment, which makes the bill, deals with gatherings in our homes and place of worship. I think statewide we did a great job with this during the last year. I commend our governor as well as members of the General Assembly and the stances we took. However, there were some very isolated areas in this state where people's rights were revoked and gatherings in their homes and place of worship were limited. They were bullied, they were threatened, and members, I think that's not acceptable in any way. This does affect my district. I border a adjoining district in which a lot of my constituents worshiped in that area, and this piece of legislation came to me directly from them. With that, I think we have testimony, Chairman.
Yes, we had a request, proper request from Mr. David Fowler. This time we'd like to go out of session and take testimony, so we're out of session. Mr. Fowler, if you'll introduce yourself to the committee. You have 3 minutes, sir.
Am I on? Am I on?
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
okay.
Your name and who you represent.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My name is David Fowler. I'm president of the Family Action Council of Tennessee and Alliance for Law and Liberty. And thank you for the opportunity to speak to this legislation. First, let me join Representative Ogles in thanking our governor for not mandating restrictions on worship, as other governors have. Second, I want to state that I understand why some would disagree with me about the importance of this bill. If I believed that matter itself is ultimate reality, worship would be nonsense. If I believed ultimate reality was an impersonal mind or spirit, as some do, then I would not know why worship would be essential or even who or what to worship. And finally, if I believed God were divorced from what he created or even divorced from civil government, as some believe, then what you do here is none of God's concern. With all of these worldviews, the rights of the majority should prevail if corporate worship might work some disadvantage to them. But I, along with many other Tennesseans, believe in a triune God who has being in himself, therefore lacks nothing, is dependent on nothing, and who therefore created all things simply for the sake of his glory, and in a way that was intended to reveal and manifest to us his glory. As Isaiah said, the whole earth is full of his glory. Thus, it would be absurd for me, as a rational created being, not to pay homage to the personal and eternal being who sustains my being at every moment. However, for me and those who believe with me that the crowning glory of creation was that God made human beings in his own image, then worship is about more than mere duty or obligation, but is essential to human flourishing like food. First, we would realize that God graciously made us in his image in order that we might be capable of knowing God and being in fellowship with him. And it would naturally draw worship from us, even as a beautiful sunset draws forth our praise. And second, we would realize that we were made in his image so that God could communicate to us all things pertaining to true life and godliness, 2 Peter 1:3. Thus, the worship of God is essential to human flourishing. But second, because the glory of God is greater than that of any one man or one woman, it is in human community that we have a fuller revelation of that glory. Therefore, in corporate worship, those who have been joined together in Christ have a tangible view of that final and eternal state in which the Apostle Paul said there's neither Greek nor Jew, circumcised or uncircumcised, barbarian, Scythian, slave nor free, but Christ is all in all. And therefore, corporate worship is part of human flourishing. This is why I believe Jesus said we cannot live by bread alone. For those to whom the restoration of the image of God is their final end and greatest good.
Mr. Fowler, your time's expired, sir. Thank you for being with us today. At this time, do the members have any questions for Mr. Fowler? Yes, Leader Gant, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If we could indulge the witness to continue to hear, I was getting information from what he was saying. If we could continue to hear from the witness.
I had 2 sentences left.
Without objection, hearing no objection, Mr. Fowler, continue.
I was going to say, worship then provides what bread cannot. As Jesus said to the Samaritan woman at the well, if you knew the gift of God and who it is that said to you, give me drink, you would have asked of him, and he would have given you living water. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Members, any other questions or comments? Leader Gant, you're recognized.
No, I just wanted to thank David Fowler for being here. I respect him greatly in his role here on the Hill, and so I want to thank you for being here, and thank you, Mr. Chairman, for letting me continue to hear from him.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any other members? Hearing none, we will go back into session.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee.
Representative Ogles, you're recognized on the amendment 4918.
Thank you, Chairman, members of the committee.
I apologize, you're recognized on the bill, House Bill 35. Amendment's already on the bill.
Thank you, Chairman, members of the committee. I actually received some text messages as we were sitting that were some technical questions, and I think it's pertinent that we discuss that with the committee members, and I clarify a couple questions I was asked. Therefore, if it's okay with and this is my first bill, and I do like chocolate ice cream. So being the first time I'm before this committee, Chairman, if you will may, can I roll this 1 week and we can come back?
Sponsor asked to roll 1 week without objection. Hearing no objection, House Bill 35 is rolled 1 week.
Thank you, Chairman.
This time, the chair requests to take a bill out of order. It's House Bill 553 by Chairman Whitson. Is there objection to taking it out of order? Hearing none, we will hear. Is there a motion on House Bill 553? We have a motion and a second. Chairman Whitson, you're recognized on House Bill 553.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, committee. This is a narrowly defined bill relative to only emergency rescue workers. It adds to the existing list of infectious disease that are presumed to be on-the-job illnesses during the rare instance where there is a pandemic for which a state of emergency has been declared. Emergency rescue workers are defined in our state code as any person employed full-time by the state or any political subdivision as a firefighter, paramedic, or emergency medical technician, EMS. Excuse me. These public employees are specifically defined because they provide emergency medical aid to the public in the regular course of their employment without the protections available in a typical healthcare setting, like a hospital or emergency room. And because they are exposed to infectious diseases while providing emergency life-saving medical aid to the public, there is an existing statute that provides for workers' compensation for these infectious diseases. There was inconsistency across the state in determining the appropriate protocols when a rescue worker was infected. This legislation provides a minimum safety net for all involved by updating the existing statute. All the existing requirements for a claim remain unchanged, and every employer retains their rights relative to the pre-screening for diseases, vaccinations, mandatory documentations, and affidavits, and rebutting the presumption. With that, Mr. Chairman, I renew my motion.
Thanks, you, sponsor. Any questions on the bills from members? Discussion on the bill? Question been called. Is there objection to the question? Hearing no objection, we're voting on House Bill 553. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say no. House Bill 553 moves to the next available calendar, local government.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, committee.
I'll pass the gavel to Chairman Crawford.
Our last bill of the afternoon will be item number 12, House Bill 0105. Do I have a motion on the bill? Motion on the bill.
Motion.
Properly motioned and second. You are recognized, Chairman Moon, on your bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This bill has a amendment, barcode 4547.
Mr. Chairman.
For what purpose, Vice Chairman?
I'm extremely confused by this bill, and so that it might be presented to us in a more proper form, I'd make a motion to send to summer study.
That is a proper motion. Is there a second? Seconded. Without objection, we're ready to vote on sending House Bill 105 to summer study. Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Sorry, Mr.
I
Chairman.
thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee.
That completes our bills calendar. At this time, I'll turn the gavel back over to Chairman Moon.
Thank you, Chairman Crawford. This does complete our calendar. Are there any announcements? Any announcements from the members? Seeing none, without objection, we'll stand adjourned. Hearing no objection, we are adjourned.
I better say we just send the chairman's bill to summer study.